Welcome into week 10 recap. Already 10 weeks down. The football season goes by fast, and it's a little sad. College is coming to an end here in a couple weeks. The NFL is getting into, some teams where they're no longer in it. Dad, you mentioned before that NFL record 5 games were determined by a game-winning field goal. So that's pretty cool, but just shows you how close the NFL is, right?
Yeah, even though we had some crappy, slow-ass games, Germany game and the Sunday night game, too, in particular, there was some, if you watch, what do they call it on the red zone? The witching hour, or something like that. The last hour, there was a lot going on. So, quite entertaining in a few games.
Yeah. No, it was a really good week. Last week was really good. This week was really good. So it's kind of getting to that point of the season where, we're getting a lot of good football for sure. A lot of meaningful football. And yeah, so we're recapping 6 games today in this video, and then 6 games in another, all the Sunday games. Just kind of going over again the fantasy stuff. And, I think by this point we kind of know roles and who's playing where and snap percentages and all that. So we'll kind of pick up on any interesting ones for sure, but we'll kind of get right into it with the Germany game, the last international game for all of you who don't like waking up early, so you don't have to worry about that anymore this year. The Colts at the Patriots. Colts win. There was 1 touchdown scored in this game. We'll start on that Colts side, and something we both noticed was Jonathan Taylor has dominated the backfield. 88% of the snaps. Zach Moss had 1 carry. So you got what you could out of Zach Moss. It's Jonathan Taylor's time, right?
Yeah, absolutely. He's still there, but the problem is he's a good player and stuff like that. But as long as Jonathan Taylor's healthy, I'd say, there's very much you can do about it. I'm not sure Zach Moss is a starter for now, but
yeah. I mean, if you have Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah, 23 carries, so that's a lot in today's backfield, running backs.
Yep. Unfortunately, he didn't do a whole lot with it, 69 yards, but he got a touchdown. So the good thing is you don't have to worry about, do I start Taylor? Or do I start Zach Moss or not? And you can hold on to Zach Moss as a handcuff, especially if you have Jonathan Taylor, because obviously we've seen what he can do when he is the guy. But Michael Pittman continues to do what he's doing. I'm kind of curious actually what he's on pace for. He must be on pace for a pretty good season. He was wide receiver 12 entering into this week in half PPR, and I don't think that's going to change too much. He went 8 for 84. He's having a really good year. Gardner Minshew, you don't want to rely on him as your starter. Yeah, Pittman has 66 catches, 670 yards, and 3 touchdowns. So pretty good numbers. I don't think, they haven't had their bye yet, so that's in 10 games. So he's averaging, 66 yards a game and about 6 catches. So that's good to see. Josh Downs played, but he didn't do a whole lot. I would still hold on to him. But not much else in this side for the Colts. Josh Downs still kind of injured potentially. I don't think he played as much as he only played in about 25% of the snaps. So, he still had 3 targets, 2 catches, 40 yards. So that's pretty good for only playing a quarter of the game, essentially. On the Patriots side, they did something that I'm not sure if I've ever seen before, Dad. It was a benching the quarterback on the final drive of the game.
Yeah, I've seen that. And
yeah. Have you ever seen that before? I don't think I have.
No, I don't think I've ever. There's no injury or anything like that. The guy, Mac Jones, is just playing so so shitty, or he's not really doing it, or so put Bailey Zappi in there and see what it leads to, and it led to an interception. So I mean, it is what it is with the New England offense, and
yeah.
I see Ramondre. Yeah, Ramondre had 20 carries. So,
yeah, he had 20. Zeke had 13. It's going to kind of make both of them, if they kind of continue this, both of them potentially start worthy. So, I mean, definitely Ramondre is. He was RB20 coming into the week. He had over 100, or just over 100 total yards with 3 catches, so he didn't get in the end zone, unfortunately. He also left the game. He missed at least a drive, just like some kind of injury of some sort. So maybe monitor that. He did come back, so I don't think that was a back injury, but he was able to return by the middle. So he missed a decent amount, like maybe a quarter and a half, and still had a good game. Demario Douglas, the rookie receiver, seems to be their main guy. So that's good to see. He's getting targets, 9 targets, 6 catches, 84 yards. He's going to be start worthy even in half PPR leagues, in my opinion, if he can get this 6 for 80. So that's about it on this team. Maybe Hunter Henry if you're still desperate at tight end, but it's about it. Juju, go away from, Mike Gesicki. Mac Jones, obviously, you don't want to start. So, I don't know, Dad. Do you think Mac Jones is a starter for this team in 2024 when the season starts?
Yeah, it doesn't seem that way. I seen him sitting on the bench, and the offensive coordinator, Bill O'Brien, sitting right next to him and reaming him out. So we talk about confidence and all this other crap, and this is his 3rd year, and it doesn't look great. So he might be a backup, or it'll be interesting. I'm kind of looking forward to March. I know we're not through the season, but there's going to be a lot of quarterback shuffling. That's for sure.
Yeah, that interception he threw at the end was pretty horrendous. And, even if they didn't score the touchdown, they could have kicked a field goal and by defense got the ball back. It was pretty bad. The guy was open in the end zone. He just I feel like one of us could have thrown it better, to be honest. It was that bad.
Yeah.
But, Ramondre is a no-brainer start on this team. No one else is a must start, but Demario Douglas, again, if he's still out there on waiver wires, would pick him up. I think he's just going to give you a little bit of consistency over the next few weeks, whether it's Bailey Zappi or Mac Jones. But yeah, we'll move on from this game and get into a blowout of a game in the 49ers and the Jags. We'll start on the 49ers side. Both these teams came off a bye. It's supposed to be one of the better games of this week, but it was a blowout. It just showed the difference between a team like the 49ers when they're clicking versus a team like the Jags. Brock Purdy got back to doing Brock Purdy things, almost 300 yards, 3 touchdowns. That's what you expect from Brock Purdy, 250 and 2. And if he gets a little bit more than that, you're happy. If he doesn't, he's not killing you. Christian McCaffrey didn't score a touchdown, but I think he still had over 20 half PPR points. That's always impressive when you can not score a touchdown and get over 20 points. They were really trying to get him the touchdown at the end. I don't know if you saw that, Dad. Everyone was out, Purdy, Debo, Ayuk, and they're at the goal line, and they were trying to feed McCaffrey the ball to get that touchdown to break the record for most touchdowns in a row, but didn't get it. But yeah, it was I don't know. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it's kind of silly they score that many points. I know coaches probably don't coach to that, but there is people who on the team who keep track of it, and they might go up and whisper in the coach's ear, "Hey, by the way," but they waited too long. They scored a lot of damn points, the 49ers. I just want to point out there's a couple of things. How did the 49ers look so good? Well, they got Debo back, And they also got their left tackle, Trent Williams, who's probably the best left tackle in the NFL. So, I mean, so that kind of Jaguars very disappointed. They're not one of the better teams. They're an okay team, but they got killed.
Yeah. Trent Williams is super important to the team. Debo is super important to the team. And all the guys, all the 49ers guys went off. McCaffrey again had a big game. Debo Samuel had 60 total yards and a touchdown. George Kittle had a big touchdown, a 66-yard touchdown catch. Brandon Ayuk caught a touchdown. So all those guys did well, even though none of them caught more than 4 passes, except for McCaffrey. So it's when they're all out there, you're going to get some down games from some of them probably, but there's no way you can get away from any of them because any of them can score a 60-yard touchdown, any of those guys. So, yeah, really good to see them bounce back. And then the Jags, not great. I mean, again, I feel like we're talking about it every week. Trevor Lawrence, we're talking about him. Like, the guy is supposed to be a generational talent at the position, and he's not special or hasn't been special yet. Again, we're over 2.5 years into his career. Everyone says, okay, throw out the first year. Okay, but still, even then, I think we're starting to...
We can stop saying that, by the way, so...
Probably. I mean, I think I've just started to now hear people starting to be like, well, what the heck, And I understand bad luck, drop passes, all this stuff, but at some point it's just like a generational talent rises above that, right? Or brings everyone up above that. So, he's not been good. 185 yards, 2 interceptions. I think he had a fumble as well, which wasn't on him, but still. ETN, we saw maybe his first bad game of the year. Did not do very well. Just double checking. Yeah, this would probably be his worst game of the year. He had 35 yards rushing, 9 yards receiving, so not very good there. I mean, do you just kind of throw it all out? And let me ask you this: what do you, if you have Calvin Ridley, is he just a bench at this point until further notice?
Yeah, his. I don't know about benching or what it's going to get you. It's just like you're not going to get the somehow it's not happening, or I mean, we all question, coming back from a year and a half layoff. Is that what it was? An injury and a suspension and stuff like that. And we heard in training camp how wonderful he looked, and he looks different than everybody else, and all this other crap. And so if you're going to start him on your team, I'm sure he was drafted as your wide receiver 1 or 2 at a minimum. That you're not going to get that. You're not going to get those numbers. So a flex player or wide receiver 3, if you're league, that's what you're going to get. So I don't know how many fantasy points he had yesterday. If you get 10 out of them, then consider it a bonus.
He had 4 half PPR.
Yeah.
He's just not. It's not even like it's 3 targets. I don't know. We heard about it with like, oh well, good cornerback and cover. It's like, well, how many teams have good cornerbacks? Like at least most teams have 1. So I don't know. Maybe it coincides with the Trevor Lawrence struggling, but Christian Kirk's still really good, 6 for 104. But yeah, Ridley at this point, like if you can bench him, you should, because it just doesn't seem to be happening. Just for this whole offense,
Yeah.
I was always skeptical of the big increase. Go ahead.
Something about Ridley, you can go back and you go, wow, I know there was a year he was lights out in Atlanta. Then you go, Well, holy shit, that's because they had Julio Jones probably, and he was drawing all the tough coverage, and Ridley was just against the the lower ranked cornerbacks and stuff like that. So
yeah, definitely. So it's disappointing for sure. And I was always skeptical of this team taking that big leap that everyone said, and just doesn't look like it's going to happen this year. So we'll see. We still got 8 weeks to kind of figure it out. But into our next game, the Saints at the Jags. Another game that was kind of a blowout in the beginning. Saints made it a little interesting. We'll start with the Saints. Derek Carr did get hurt, concussion / shoulder injury. I think he passed the concussion protocol because he was out there talking to the media after the game, which is usually a sign that they don't have a concussion. But Jameis Winston came in and he did Jameis things, 2 touchdowns, 120 yards, but also 2 interceptions. One of them was an awful interception. So are you worried about anyone if Jameis Winston is the starter for a game or two, Dad, or do you think it would just kind of go smoothly, in terms of fantasy? It would go
you talk about like Kamara and Olave. You know what? I think Michael Thomas, I don't mean to change the subject, but Michael Thomas got hurt. Yeah. And Olave was just making ridiculous catches yesterday. So whoever was throwing those passes, I don't know if it was Jameis or Derek Carr or something. There was something going on. So Michael Thomas also beating up contractors, so we'll see. We'll see what happens to that guy. He did get hurt, I heard. So
yeah, I think the initial thought was it wasn't very serious. But yeah, if he is out, it was the rookie A.T. Perry who took over for him. So if you're in a super deep league, you can keep an eye on that. But I think I read, so Kamara had 7 catches. I think I read that almost all of them, couldn't be all of them, but a majority of them were from Carr. Maybe for Kamara, you're going to worry about it a little bit because Jameis is more likely to chuck it down the field. But I think it would be good for Olave, who had a really nice catch, 90 yards and a touchdown. You're still starting Olave and Kamara, no problem. So, they're actually on a bye this week, I believe. So, we're not going to really know about Derek Carr until week 12. So, Minnesota side of things, Josh Dobbs keeps impressing. Like, the guy is impressive, really, really impressive, just what he's doing. And I think he has the 2nd most rushing yards for quarterbacks this year, which is good to see. He was QB 10 coming into the week, and I don't think that's going to change because he threw for 270 and a touchdown, also ran for 45 and a touchdown. So he's been really good. Madison did get a concussion, and Ty Chandler took over and looked okay. 15 carries, 45 yards, and a touchdown. So if Ty Chandler's out there on your waivers, you're probably going to get Madison missing a week, because most of the time when you have a concussion, you miss a week. So you could get a valuable spot start out of Ty Chandler. But Dad, any worry about Jordan Addison? Again, 4 for 69, just hasn't been since Kirk Cousins went down, basically. Hasn't been having big games.
Yeah, some concern. We've seen. I think we've seen some of this in previous, injuries, quarterbacks, wide receiver connection. This guy got off the airplane and was starting there last week, or not starting, but playing. So yeah, it could be a problem. And Jefferson's going to be back he's going to be back at it here really soon. I think he was even Justin Jefferson, I think, was questionable this week. So you'll see him elevate, and that's going to affect it. I don't think it'll affect Hawkinson But yeah, Jordan Addison definitely.
Yeah, yeah, it is a little worrisome, and especially with Jefferson coming back, because the fact is, Josh Dobbs is probably going to complete 25 passes every game, and Hawkinson's going to get a bunch of those. He throws to the tight end like crazy. Josh Dobbs does. And that's my only worry is when Jefferson comes back. Now you have, TJ Hawkinson, 15 targets, 11 catches, 134 yards, and a touchdown. The dude was a monster. And that's just what Josh Dobbs has been doing in Arizona. Now in Minnesota, just been heavily targeting the tight end. So, yeah, I mean, if you can trade Addison in a redraft league or something, I think I might, just because I don't know if he's even going to be like a top 24 receiver from this point on, unfortunately. But yeah, Ty Chandler should be able to pick him up and start this week. Hawkinson's an obvious start. Jefferson's an obvious start when he comes back. As long as Jefferson's out, though, I still think you can start Addison. And yeah, where do you would you start Josh Dobbs over Trevor Lawrence the rest of the year, Dan?
Oh, damn right. I'd start Josh Dobbs, no problem. It's he's more than proven, that his ability to play, at a decent level, NFL quarterback, better than some of these other scrubs, better than Zach Wilson and, the rookies that are playing, Levis and Aiden O'Connell. And there's Josh Dobbs, just the running factor. I know 40-some yards does not sound like a lot, but if he does that every week, that adds up. He'll have over, he'll have easy over 500 yards rushing.
Oh yeah.
And you go, you look at it at the end of the year and you go, how did that happen? How did I miss that? And stuff like that. So just get on board with it now.
Yeah. Yeah, he already has he's averaging 30, almost 37 yards a game. So rushing. And again, like that was one of those games where he didn't do anything. So he's averaging, I think, on pace for over 600 yards rushing. And he also has 5 rushing touchdowns. So he's going to have 8. I think he's going to have 3. This will be his 3rd straight week of over 24 points and 4 point per passing touchdown. So yeah, obvious start over Lawrence, and it's not even a question. But yeah, that's about it for this game. So we'll get into the next one, which is the Texans at the Bengals. Dad, my question for you is, should CJ Stroud be talked about as a potential, should he be in the MVP talks?
No, not MVP. I know his numbers are pretty good. When you're talking MVP, you're talking Mahomes level, and that's not, but no question, offensive rookie of the year, that's a pretty significant award and stuff like that. We'll see how it carries out, the rest of the year. I know, again, things are looking good, and, the offense, I mean, Devin Singletary, guys like Noah Brown, and, guys that we don't expect to have big numbers, and that's because of CJ Stroud. So something's clicking right in Houston, that's for sure, and really surprised at the outcome of that game. I think the Bengals had a chance to win it, didn't they? Or tie it?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah. Win it or tie it or something.
Yeah, it was a good game. CJ Stroud's on pace for almost 5,000 yards passing.
That's good.
Over 28 touchdowns, and he's only thrown 2 interceptions on the year. It's impressive stuff what he's doing, and I am curious. I didn't look it up, so I'm not going to have time right now. But just in terms of quarterbacks, he has to be up there definitely for yardage and potentially touchdowns as well. I mean, Mahomes has 17 in 9 games. Stroud has 15 in 9 games. So he's going to be maybe top 5 in touchdown passes, passing yards. Texans were the second worst team in the NFL last year, and they're 5-4, and they're potentially could win the division. So I don't think it's crazy. I mean, if he keeps this up, I don't think it's crazy that start talking about potential MVP stuff. So he's an obvious starter in fantasy. And Devin Singletary, do you think he takes over the job now, Dad? I mean, he had 150 yards. This whole team is just fantasy gold. 30 carries, 150 yards, and a touchdown for Singletary. Do you think he should take over the backfield over Dameon Pierce, who's been hurt the last 2 weeks?
Obviously, yeah. Pierce was like a 50-yard guy, and 30 carries. That's unbelievable for Devin Singletary, and it's like, yeah, we've been waiting for this for 5 years. We thought he could do this with the Bills, and he had a good game. Cincinnati's defense is supposed to be, pretty decent and stuff like that, but holy crap! I got him sitting on the bench on a team. I looked at point totals yesterday, and I'm like, well, that was not very smart, and on my part. Yeah. But I knew Dameon Pierce was out. I think as long as Pierce is out, Singletary will keep on doing it.
Yeah, and it's one of those things, and I've been saying it for a few different players this year. Just like, how do you go away from what you just saw? How do they go away from, again, 30 carries is a lot, but 5 yards a carry, and like you said, we've just been wanting to see this, at least see it for Singletary, a team give him the full workload. And he's always averaged every year so far, he's averaged over 4.5 yards a carry, except for one, he averaged 4.4. So I think he's a good running back, and he could fit this team. So it'd be nice to see. And I don't blame you for benching him, because no Texans running back did anything. Even last week for Pierce did nothing. Noah Brown, are you starting him? 7 for 172. What's he have? Over 300 yards in the last 2 games?
Yeah, I did. I did. Again, kind of looked at it. I heard Nico Collins was hurt, and I thought, I'll give this guy a shot, and, he's come through.
Yep. Yeah. And even with Nico Collins there, I don't think he's a terrible flex in deeper leagues, because this team is just, CJ Stroud, again, he's on pace for 5,000 yards. You can easily have 3 guys that can be fantasy relevant. So Dalton Schultz, another good game, 4 for 71. Tank Dell, 6 for 56 and a touchdown. He also left the game early and stuff. So he's really good. I don't know. It's just crazy. This whole team, it's unbelievable. Like, who would have thought that the Texans would be producing all these fantasy studs for us? It's crazy.
Yeah, Tank Dell, 14 targets.
Yeah.
Jeez. And he didn't even connect on half of them. Caught 6. Just think if he would have had 8 or 9 or something like that. So a lot of his, obviously, he's the dink and dunk master. He's only averaging 9 points. 9 yards a pass. But it's like, well, he's going to score points, so they're going to get the ball to him.
Yep. Yeah, Stroud definitely likes throwing to him. So, and he dropped a big one too that could have cost him the game, but it obviously didn't. Bengals. Yeah, people talking about them. Are they the best team in the NFL? And obviously, Houston has the same record as the Bengals. Joe Burrow had a good game, 350, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Mixon got 46 yards on the ground and a touchdown. Didn't catch a pass, so he caught 2 passes for -1 yards. Jamar Chase had a big game, with T. Higgins out. And Tyler Boyd had a pretty big game, 8 for 117. Trenton Irwin caught a big touchdown. So is Tyler Boyd kind of a easy start as long as T. Higgins is out, Dad?
I think so. Tyler Boyd's in his last year of his contract with Cincinnati, so I know that doesn't matter, but yeah, as much as Cincinnati throws the ball, Chase and Boyd, as long as T. Higgins is out, so that kind of makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Bengals are easy. You're still starting Burrow, Mixon, Chase, Higgins when he's in there. So if you want to dart throw Trenton Irwin if Higgins is out, seems to be their deep play guy. So there's that too. But we'll move on. We're not going to spend too much time. It's kind of unnecessary time there. 2 more games here. Packers-Steelers is the next one. Steelers win this game, I believe, by 4. We'll start on the Packers side of things. Actually, I thought Jordan Love looked better this game, which is good to see. Threw for almost 300 yards, 2 touchdowns. AJ Dillon was their 9 for 70. I think he had like a 40-yard run, which is something I never thought I'd hear from AJ Dillon, but they're still not using Aaron Jones quite like we would want. He had 13 carries and 4 catches, but again, we go back to it, Dad. Is anyone on this team besides Aaron Jones, probably, but you can throw him in there. Is anyone on this team kind of a lock-it-in, no-brainer starter?
Well, no, other than Jordan Love on a dynasty league as your quarterback 2 or something like that. So, I mean, I know you said he looked all right, but he also threw 2 interceptions. So,
yeah.
I mean, his numbers look okay. I mean, they're not great, but we'll see. We'll see in the offseason. I don't see the Packers being a team moving off of Jordan Love unless some other quarterback falls in their lap. But there's nobody. Yeah, there's nobody else that's fantasy relevant on this team.
Yeah. It's really not. And the most concerning thing of Jordan Love is, I think his completion percentage for the season is like under 55%, which is really bad. Really, really bad to not be completing 58% on the season. So
that's not
under
good.
60% is not good at all. Christian Watson, a bust. Aaron Jones, you can still throw out there. Jaden Reed is someone to keep an eye on. He had a pretty good game, 5 for 84 and a touchdown. I just think he's a good player, so they could try and get him more involved. Romeo Doubs got a touchdown, but you're just not getting much volume there. So I want to avoid all Packers if possible. And then Steelers, not much better here. I mean, they're somehow 6-3 and second in that division. I think they're being outscored by a crazy amount, but Kenny Pickett, nothing to talk about there. They're not going to change it. They're going to keep rolling with them, especially when they're winning. Jalen Warren, 15 for 101 and a touchdown, 2 catches. Najee Harris, 16 for 82 and a touchdown. I think that's 2 weeks in a row, Dad, where we've had good games from both of them, specifically Najee. Is he kind of back into that RB2?
Right. You're right on Najee. 2 weeks in a row, maybe starting it. I mean, this kind of happened last year, I believe, the second half of the year, which we're kind of in right now, that Najee kind of woke up, the Steelers run offense and everything else. So I don't know. I was about ready. I got him on a team. I was about ready to try and get rid of him, and I kind of tried to, but no one would take him. But I guess I got to hold on to him now and kind of roll with it.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, he's been good. Like 4 of the last 5 games. So ever since they played the Rams, he's had a touchdown in 4 of the last 5 games, and he's becoming a solid RB2 in my opinion. So I mean, no one else, again, like Deontay Johnson, 1 catch, 4 targets. Like the passing game's just not there for this team. George Pickens is not someone I want to start. I'll probably still start Deontay, but it's just I don't even know. It's this both these teams. It's like I don't really want to start anyone, but you kind of have to if you have them, in a sense. So, any excitement for any of the pass catchers? Deontay, I still want to start him, but
yeah, Deontay, I would still be starting him. The other guys, they don't thrill me. I know there's still some bye weeks and stuff like that. So George Pickens, and other than that, there's not much happening.
Yeah, not much happening at all. So we'll get into the last game here: the Titans at the Bucs. Buccaneers pull it off. Titans are still a pretty boring team, in my opinion. Like, I don't know, the Will Levis stuff has maybe worn off already, but it's just, man, they should have sold. You're just kind of stuck with guys like Henry and Hopkins on a team that's 3-6 and not really going anywhere. Henry, 11 carries, 24 yards. He got outsnapped and outplayed by Tajay Spears. So whenever they're losing and trailing, Tajay Spears is going to play more snaps than Henry. Not saying he's going to get more carries, but he's going to play more snaps. So, you look at their schedule. They get the Jags, Panthers, Colts, Dolphins, Texans. It's not the best schedule. It's not the worst schedule, but I don't know. What is your overall thoughts on the Titans, Dad? Just avoid them all again, except for Henry, of course.
Yeah, they're getting ready for their draft next year. It's Derrick Henry will be out of there. I don't know. It's like you said, they're boring. They're just not happening with Tennessee, and I don't see any. It's hard to say Derrick Henry's not fantasy relevant, but he'd be the only one that I see on this team that's worth a crap, So
yeah,
it's too bad.
It is. The only reason to watch him really is to see how Will Levis plays, but I don't know. You kind of saw some of the things that people were knocking Will Levis on in the draft time. You kind of saw that in this game a little bit. Less than 50% completion percentage is not good, but he's a rookie. See how he develops. Has a big arm. Buccaneers side, big. Yeah,
they got some videotape on him now, so defenses will, like we talked about, it's a game of adjustments.
Market price.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. On the Bucs side, Baker just keeps playing really well. He coming into the week, he was QB 16. And it's probably going to go up from there. 280, 2 touchdowns, 12 yards on the ground. Like he's giving you over 20 points almost. He's awesome. Would you start Baker over Trevor Lawrence instead at this point?
Yeah, I don't know. Baker's a little inconsistent. Well, Trevor isn't much better. So,
yeah. I mean,
it's good flip of the coin. His game yesterday was right on. I mean, Mike Evans is a stud. You talk about a guy that gets overlooked so much in fantasy drafts and stuff like that. And I know we've talked about it for a couple of years, and it's like where he ends up in a fantasy draft is a bargain, and that guy is really good.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'd start Baker over Lawrence at this point. Like, Baker's had one bust week, and 5 of the last 6 weeks he's been really good. I think 3 times over 20 points, 1 time 19 points, another 17 points. So he just seems to be almost a safe option of 250 and 2, especially when you have Mike Evans. And Rachaad White again continues to play well, over 100 total yards and a touchdown. I think he had a 43-yard touchdown catch. So only 2 catches in this game, but got the touchdown, got you 90 total yards, 90 plus total yards. He's been really good. Probably a top 10 tight end over running back over the last 4 weeks or so. You mentioned it with Mike Evans. What about Chris Godwin? He's a tough one. Like he's playing.
Yeah, still playing him, and he's still a decent receiver. I don't know if Baker is a guy that can support, two wide receivers, for relevant fantasy. We know Brady could and stuff like that. So it's just whatever you're getting out of Godwin, that's what you're going to have to live with.
Yeah, he's going to be one of those. You always talk about it. You look back and you look at his stats and you see, Godwin right now is on pace for 83 catches and just under 1,000 yards. But it doesn't feel like it because he's not catching touchdowns, only has one this year. I don't know. He's wide receiver 39 coming on into the week, and that's probably not going to change too much. 4 for 54, keeping that pace for almost 1,000 yards. But I don't know. It's just not, like you said, I don't think Baker, especially with Rachaad White being as involved as he has been recently, I kind of just want to move off of Godwin if possible. But yeah, anything else on the bucket? Who wins that division? I know it's a little off topic, but who do you think wins that NFC South? So right now it's Saints leading it at 5-5. Buccaneers are in second place, or in second place. Falcons in third, and then Panthers obviously not going to win it, but Saints, Bucs, Falcons. Who wins that division?
Yeah, probably Saints, I guess. A lot of we thought Atlanta possibly. It's just not happening. No consistency. Good old Desmond Ridder is. They're back at their quarterback position, which I don't know. Maybe he's got his shit together now, but
yeah, who knows? Yeah, it's like I guess the Saints is a good answer. Like I guess the Saints. Who knows? I think the Bucs. I think the Bucs continue playing decently well and take it. So without looking at the schedule or anything. But yeah, we'll finish up there. We'll be back with the other 6 games. As always, like and subscribe.